Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, it's the last day of campaigning for fifth phase of India's parliamentary election. 49 constituencies across 8 states to go to the polls on the 20th of May. Fierce fighting in northern Gaza as aid starts to roll off a US-built pier. Israel's military recovers the bodies of 3 hostages from the enclave. In the Indian Premier League, Faf du Plessis' Royal Challengers Bengaluru takes on Ruturaj Gaikwad's Chennai Super Kings in a do-or-die match for both teams. And in badminton, India's men's doubles pair of Satwik-Chirag Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty enter Thailand Open final. Let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. It's the last day of campaigning for the 5th phase of India's parliamentary election. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to hold rallies in Haryana's Ambala and Sonipat. Afterwards, he will hold a public meeting at Yamuna Khadar in the northeast Delhi constituency in India's capital, New Delhi. BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah held a rally at Lalitpur in Uttar Pradesh. He'll be holding rallies in Jhansi, Banda and Amethi too.
मत करो ललितपुर वालों, झांसी में नया एयरपोर्ट भी बनने जा रहा है। 108 करोड़ से झांसी ग्वालियर के बीच में ओवरब्रिज और रोड बड़ा। ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टमेंट समिट के अंदर 321 निवेश के प्रस्ताव हुए। मेरे बुंदेलखंड में 2 लाख करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट आने वाला है। 2 लाख करोड़।
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is in Maharashtra, where he addressed a public rally in Dhule. The Chief Minister will also address rallies in Palghar, North Mumbai and Central Mumbai. BJP President JP Nadda held a public meeting in Himachal Pradesh's Kangra. He will be holding rallies in Chamba and Solan. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge held a press conference in Mumbai along with the party's alliance partners Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar. Kharge said that their alliance will win 46 out of 48 seats in the state.
मैं भी 53 साल से पॉलिटिक्स में हूँ। एमएलए बन के और एमपी राज्यसभा बन के मेरे भी 53 साल हो गए। अब कोर्स हमारे शरद पवार साहब हमसे भी 5 साल आगे हैं, क्योंकि वो पहले से ही राजकारण में आए और उन्होंने अपनी ताकत भी रखी महाराष्ट्र में। साथ ही साथ उद्धव ठाकरे जी भी जब आए तब से वो भी पॉलिटिक्स में टिक के रहे हैं। तो मेरा एक ही कहना है कि ये जो विश्वासघात की पॉलिटिक्स चल रही है,
Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, along with the party's candidate KL Sharma, held a roadshow in Uttar Pradesh's Amethi constituency on Saturday. Gandhi was supporting Sharma's campaign against the incumbent lawmaker Smriti Irani of the BJP. Amethi will go to the polls on the 20th of May. Earlier in the day, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra visited a Gurudwara in the Rai Bareli constituency of Uttar Pradesh, where her brother and Congress leader Rahul Gandhi is contesting. Right, time to bring in DD India's team of reporters covering the election from the ground. Joining me are Kriti Vadhera in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh. Dibyendu Mondal is at Bangaon, West Bengal, and Gautam Roy is in Leh, Ladakh. First to you, Kriti. Talk to us a bit, if you will, about Ayodhya and its newfound status after the inauguration of a temple dedicated to the Hindu god Lord Ram.
Well, good evening, Ramesh. And when it comes to Ayodhya, of course, Ram Janmabhoomi Temple, I would say that has changed the entire electoral equation of Lok Sabha elections, at least for BJP. But when it comes to parliamentary elections here at Faizabad, the parliamentary constituency, it is all in all about the development Ayodhya is facing after the consecration ceremony of the temple. We can see development, a massive development in terms of infrastructure here in Ayodhya, but still the voters, the localites of Ayodhya are seeking good medical facilities, they are seeking good educational facilities here in Ayodhya. They agree to the fact that there are major developments after the consecration ceremony has taken place, but still to be onto the path of progress, the people of Ayodhya would be having a thought of having good facilities when they go for vote. And today is the last day of campaigning here for the political parties. By today's evening it will end. At the same time, rigorous planning for the preparations of poll has already started by the district election office, and there are several initiatives what district election office has taken, and in these initiatives the major one is the Adbhut Ayodhya campaign, in which they are having an awareness camp for the voters of Ayodhya to step out of their homes and cast their votes. In last parliamentary elections, Ayodhya has seen around 59% of polls, but this time there's an intention to bring a rise into the vote share, for which different initiatives have taken place. Youth of Ayodhya has been involved in a unique initiative which is by the name of Bulawa Toli, and in this youth, majorly the youth voters will be going to door and having a campaign on the day of polls to invite the voters and bring them to the polling booth so that the vote share can increase. So these are the several initiatives which are being taken place right from today till the day of poll. And there was a rigorous campaign for the postal ballot facilities also. From last 5 days, the people who will be involved in on duty on the day of polls were supposed to practice their votes through postal ballot facilities, and few of them have also been issued the election duty certificate so that they can cast their votes on the respective polling booths they are appointed on. So these are the plannings Ayodhya's authorities have for the day of poll.
All right, from Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh, let me now take you across to West Bengal, where my colleague Dibyendu Mondal joins us from Bangaon. Dibyendu, how's the campaigning coming along in Bangaon and the 6 other seats going to the polls on Monday?
Well, Ramesh, it's just the last hour left for the campaigning here in the 7 seats where the elections is scheduled to take place on the 20th of May. All the parties since today morning have been rigorously campaigning, and not just today. Throughout the last 1 month, all the political parties, if I speak of Bengal, it's primarily the 4 political parties, which is the BJP, the Trinamool Congress, the Left and the Congress have been campaigning rigorously in this particular 7 seats, which is going to polls on Monday. The campaigning is going to end in an hour from now. and the silence period or the mute period begins. This is the time when the voters will be given the time to deliberate on how much they have been successful in wooing the voters. So of course this is an interesting time where people will be deliberating on their choice of candidate who they would like to cast their vote in the coming Monday. So of course all the parties, if I speak particularly of Bangaon constituency, the key issue here is the Citizenship Amendment Act, which was passed by the central government in 2019, but implemented in March 2024. It is a key issue for the electorate here because of the fact that 40% of the electorate here consists of the refugee community, which is the Mathua community, and has a large say in the voting pattern here in this particular constituency where I am currently. So of course, the campaigning is scheduled to come to an end, but of course, all political parties are hoping that they have been able to successfully woo the voters here in Bengal. Back to you.
Indeed. Let me now turn to my other colleague Gautam Roy, who is standing by in Leh in Ladakh. Gautam, is it going to be a straight contest between the BJP and the Congress in Leh also? What issues are foremost in the minds of voters there?
Well, Ramesh, good evening or good afternoon, as you might see it at 4 o'clock here. It's an all-encompassing greeting here in Ladakh. That's July to you and our viewers. As far as Ladakh is concerned, the issues have been all around development, and also the fact that the people of Ladakh are seeking a distinct identity, and they want to have that taken forward as well, because they feel that they should have more autonomy, whether that's a demand for statehood or other things in the constitution like the 6th schedule. So these are the kind of issues, and all the political parties, there are only 3 candidates in the fray this time around. There's BJP and there's the Congress NC candidate. They are contesting from Leh, and there is one candidate from Kargil, an independent candidate. He used to be an NC leader, but since the Congress and the NC, the National Conference, gave a candidate ultimately from Leh, the entire unit of the Congress and the NC rebelled against their parties, and they put up this independent candidate. And Kargil has a slight edge, around 98,000 voters there, and about 88,000 in Leh, a total of 185,000 altogether in all of Ladakh, though it's the largest constituency in the country, but the density of people is just 3-4 per square kilometer. So it's a huge challenge holding elections here in the first place, and these issues have been dominating, but at the same time, as far as the election preparations go, deployments of polling parties have already started. The army, the armed forces have been recruited in taking polling parties to distant remote areas as well, using choppers, and that work is also going on, apart from awareness drives to ensure that there's an increased turnout on the 28th, going beyond the 71-72% that happened the last time around in the parliamentary elections in 2019.
All right, we'll leave it there. Gautam Roy in Leh, Ladakh, Divyendra Mondal in Bangaon, West Bengal, and Kriti Vadhera at Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. Thank you all for now. Appreciate it. And in some more election-related news, the US has praised India's vibrant democracy as the country holds the world's largest election. A US official applauded the Indian voters for exercising their franchise.
More vibrant democracies in the world than India, and we applaud the Indian people for exercising, their ability to vote and have a voice in their future government. And we wish them well.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. An India election special from the state of Haryana, which is famous for its sporting prowess and where locals swear by buffalo milk. And we tell you all about the exquisite art form of chicken curry that is synonymous with the Indian city of Lucknow.
A humanitarian law was vilified across the world simply because it wanted to address the problems of the people escaping religious persecution.
हमारे को लग रहा है कि हमारा हिंदुस्तान के अंदर नया जन्म हुआ है.
जो महिलाएं होती है उनके मन में मतलब इच्छाएं होती हैं मन की, वो उसको त्यागनी पड़ती है.
Other than India, no other place to go all over the world, and that's why you can't make them wait in the normal process.
These people needed special provision because we have to save future of women and children.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The northern Indian state of Haryana, which is famous for its sporting prowess, is fond of buffalo milk. The creamy milk plays a key role in the economy of village life in the state. Vishal Badisto travels to the countryside to find out more.
Riding a motorbike with a special apparatus, Shahid visits almost every house in this village. His job is to test the fat content in the milk and then collect the milk. If the sample gets 100 units on his machine, then the milk gets a good price.
Daily I cover almost every house in this village. If the milk sample has 100 units of fat, it is worth 80 rupees a litre. There are 10 such collectors like me.
This buffalo is a breadwinner for Darshan and his wife. The milk it gives fetches good money for the family.
I have been selling buffalo milk for some years. This animal gets me 10 to 12,000 rupees a month.
To increase the fat content, the animal needs special diet and care. Almost every house in this small village of Kohla in Sonipat district relies on buffalo. These are the buffaloes of Darshan. 4 kilometers from Darshan's house is Nuran Kheda, where there is a collection center. 8 to 10 persons on motorbike, they collect milk with fat content from around 30 villages, and there it is collected and sent to the cooling plant. Now this provides an economic help not only for these villages but also for all the villages in the vicinity. 4 kilometers away from Kohla village, the milk is stored here under refrigeration. Those who stay nearby reach here on foot. Every sample and quantity is carefully inked on the register.
Milk is collected from the neighboring villages. Every day we collect around 2000 liters of milk. Then from here it reaches the cooperative dairy through tankers.
Buffalo is the backbone of Kohla village's economy, and the animal is certainly its best friend. As they say, a friend in need is a friend indeed. With cameraman Aniket Dubey in Kohla, Sonipat, Vishal Baristo for DD India.
The intricate art of chicken curry is a testament to the rich cultural heritage of Lucknow, the capital of the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. But today, this exquisite art form faces unprecedented challenges. The rollout of the goods and services tax has cast a shadow over the chicken curry industry, which employs 500,000 people. The stakeholders fear the end of an already struggling craft. Tapas Bhattacharya has more.
To Lucknow, the soul of chicken curry, a centuries-old craft that weaves together tradition, heritage and livelihood. But behind the exquisite fabric lies a tale of struggle and resilience. Watch this special report.
For 500,000 artisans, chicken curry is not just a craft, it is a way of life. But recent hurdles have cast a shadow over their livelihoods. While traders and exporters profit, the artisans and the workers are left with crumbs, earning as little as 250 rupees a day. Their plight remains largely ignored by policymakers. According to traders, with the implementation of the GST, chicken embroidery work is now even more costlier.
Earlier there was no GST. Now tax has increased our financial difficulties. We have nothing to save. Shopkeepers have to reduce their per piece payment or cut down on orders, which ultimately affect the wages of our artisans too. The artisans are already struggling to make ends meet.
हम लोग की दिहाड़ी जो है यहाँ पे
Our daily wage is rupees 250 for 8 hours. Low wages as per the ATKC has become a major financial issues of the artisans. We have been facing the issues of increased cost and extremely low income.
Unpaid labor and dwindling businesses are pushing many artisans and businessmen to the brink of closure. There is uncertainty in the chicken curry industry that provides employment to some 500,000 people.
जैसे कि आप जानते हैं
Embroidery industry has already been facing financial issues, and most of the workers and businessmen of this sector are from the very poor segment of the society. There is no concession. We have to pay TDS separately. Shopkeepers have to reduce their product payment or cut down on orders, which ultimately affects the wages of artisans too.
Chicken curry, once patronized by royalty, has a rich history. It flourished in Delhi before finding its home in Lucknow. From being a part of rich history to becoming history itself, chicken workers are now mulling various options to stay afloat.
As Lucknow heads to the polls, the voices of chicken curry artisans echo through the streets, pleading for recognition and support. Their craft is more than just fabric. It's a legacy woven with threads of tradition and perseverance. With camera person Gaurav Giri, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh.
All right, in some other news now, an interministerial delegation from India has concluded its maiden meeting held in the UAE from the 15th to the 17th of May. The meeting took place under an intergovernmental framework agreement on what is known as the India-West Asia-Europe Economic Corridor. The agreement provides for cooperation on the development of this corridor and potential joint investments and technical collaboration. Right, joining me from Dubai in the UAE is my colleague Vinod Kumar. Vinod, why don't I begin by asking about the corridor itself for the benefit of viewers joining us from around the world. How did this corridor come into being and why is it a big deal for India, West Asia and Europe?
Economic corridor is an ambitious project to create an economic link between India, the Middle East and Europe and the wider markets of the US. This was announced first in September 2023 in the G20 summit held at New Delhi. And this corridor has really the potential to revolutionize the connectivity across the globe. So there are several key objectives behind this corridor. First one is definitely boost the economic integration between India, the Middle East and the wider European market, and to enhance connectivity. While we say connectivity, this also includes digital infrastructure. In the future, there are plans to create cabling between India and UAE, which will carry internet signals and to reduce trade cost. As you know, in the year 2022, India and UAE had already signed the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, reducing the tariff cost between India and the UAE. This economic corridor has the potential to reduce it on the physical plane. And further again, and this has also got the potential of job creation. So how this is going to materialize? Let's have a mental map of the West Asian Peninsula. Here in India, the first step of this corridor involves an eastern corridor whereby the shipping lines from the Mundra port, the Kandla port in Gujarat will be established towards the Arabian Peninsula. The ships will start from the western corridor of India and that will move through the Arabian Sea to the Gulf of Oman. Then it will cross the Musandam Peninsula, and after crossing the Musandam Peninsula via the Strait of Hormuz, then we have got 5 ports in this region. These ports are the Fujairah port in UAE, the Jebel Ali port in Dubai, the Khalifa port in Abu Dhabi, and further the Dammam port and the Ras Al Khair port in Saudi Arabia. These 5 ports will be then linked to a rail line. This rail line the construction has not yet begun, but the first steps have already been taken. These rail lines connect the shipments from these ports to Haifa port in Israel. The Haifa port in Israel has already got exposure to the Mediterranean Sea. From the Haifa port, again the ship will take the shipment from Haifa port to the Piraeus port in Greece. So the Greece Piraeus port is the end point of the IMEC corridor. And last 3 days, the first step towards this materializing this India-Middle East Economic Corridor has taken place in the UAE. And how this is going to create an impact for the West, it's very interesting. This corridor have the remarkable ability to fit well into the strategic interest of all the participants like India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and furthermore US.
Right.
For example, it would serve the US to fit in its rivalry against China. China has already created something called the Belt and Road Initiative. So US will fit into it will definitely fit into the strategic interest of the US.
Okay.
And for the Gulf states, they can act as a bridge between India and the Europe. In the context of the war between Russia and Ukraine, it's very clear that for the European Union, they need to diversify their sources of energy.
Right.
As you know, Ramesh, in the year of 2022, the winter really hit very hard for the Germans because Germans were solely dependent upon the Russian gas for their heating requirements. They could not source the LNG from Qatar because you won't believe in 2022 they did not have a port to create to take the shipment from Qatar. So this will act as another leg in the wider trade routes. You might even ask that there is already Suez Canal. Suez Canal is overly congested. The visa is very high, and there are the ships have to pass through a queue line of 13 to 15 days to pass the Suez Canal, and with a very high tariff to giving to Egypt. So these are the considerations of all the players in the region to create an alternative route, and it will definitely give India a greater role in the value chains and escape in encirclement.
All right, we leave it at that. Vinod Kumar in Dubai, in the UAE. Thank you, appreciate it. Right, in some more news that we are tracking on DD India News Hub, India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant spoke about an urgent need to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles in the country. He highlighted the Indian government's initiatives in this regard and the significant role of the private sector in this domain in particular. He was addressing the Confederation of Indian Industries annual business summit in New Delhi on Saturday.
The government has already allocated 57,613 crores for procuring 10,000 electric buses. So once that gets accelerated, you will see two-wheelers, three-wheeler manufacturing, buses manufacturing. And I think the next big ticket thing will be the battery manufacturing, for which the production-linked incentive scheme has been bid out, and you will see many companies from manufacturing batteries in India, from Tata's to Reliance to Maruti to Exide, many companies doing battery manufacturing, which will be the next big driver of growth. So our objective should be to make India fully electric as far as two-wheelers, three-wheelers and buses are concerned by 2030.
And Damu Ravi, the Secretary Economic Relations in India's Ministry of External Affairs, emphasized the trade as a more holistic and integrated economic activity at the CII Annual Business Summit 2024.
The trade today has to be seen in a more integrated manner. Trade, goods, investments, services, industry, manufacturing are all so integrated. And in more recent times, we're beginning to see this finances, technology, and e-commerce are also very critical in the way we see trade evolving. The point I'm trying to emphasize here is, how do you see trade as a more holistic and integrated economic activity?
Speaking at that same CII event, a former Indian ambassador to the US, Arun Kumar Singh, said that China has the potential to surpass the US in various domains. Consequently, the US has prohibited any investments related to high technology in China.
The primary economic, technological, military challenge is the challenge from China. And that China is the only country globally with the intent and capability to replace the US in the international system. So in terms of the challenge that they are seeing from China, the kind of technology restrictions that have been put in place, not allowing China access to the more advanced semiconductors or machines for making semiconductors, and in a very unusual manner, not only are they getting more restrictive in terms of Chinese investments and acquisitions in the US, but are looking potentially at regulations to bar US companies from investing in high technology in China.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Europe's leading technology experts gather in Germany's capital Berlin to discuss the opportunities and challenges presented by artificial intelligence. And Donald Trump wants a debate between the vice presidential candidates, although he has not announced his running mate yet.
We are looking at a seminal relationship that is redefining world politics, the so-called no-limits strategic partnership between Russia and China.
These two countries are actually trying to create a world order which moves away from Brussels and Washington DC.
If you look at any chance of a conflict between India and China, it would be very difficult for us to imagine that Russia would put all its weight behind India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. It's the last day of campaigning for the fifth phase of India's parliamentary election. 49 constituencies across 8 states to go to the polls on 20th of May. Fierce fighting in northern Gaza as aid starts to roll off a US-built pier. Israel's military recovers the bodies of 3 hostages from the enclave. And in the Indian Premier League, Faf du Plessis' Royal Challengers Bengaluru takes on Ruturaj Gaikwad's Chennai Super Kings in a do-or-die match for both teams. Ukraine's top commander warned on Friday of heavy battles looming on the war's new front in northeastern Kharkiv region as Russia's President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow was carving out a buffer zone in the area. Russian forces attacked Kharkiv region's north last Friday, making inroads of up to 10 kilometers and outnumbering Kyiv's troops who are trying to hold the line. Putin said that Russia was creating a buffer zone in Ukraine's northeast to protect its own border regions, but said that capturing the city of Kharkiv, which is Ukraine's second largest, was not part of his current plan. A White House official has said that the U.S. government does not encourage or enable attacks with U.S.-supplied weapons inside Russia.
We do not encourage, nor do we enable attacks using U.S.-supplied weapon systems inside Russian territory. That's the policy. That has not changed.
Meanwhile, Russian forces have captured the village of Staritsia in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. This according to Russia's defense ministry, which made the claim on Saturday. It added that Russian troops are continuing to advance in the area. Joining me from Moscow is my colleague Dasha Chernyshova. Dasha, what does Putin mean by a buffer zone in Ukraine's Kharkiv?
Well, it is not the first time we are hearing from the Russian authorities about the creation of the so-called buffer zone, or also called sanitary zone, in Ukraine. That's the zone that will be preventing the Ukrainian arms, the Ukrainian weapons from reaching the civilians inside Russia, the Russian border. So the longer range missiles are supplied to Ukraine, the longer this zone will have to be. That's according to the officials here in the Russian capital. So at the moment, Moscow insists that what is happening in the Kharkiv region is the result of the Ukrainian shelling of Russia's border regions of Belgorod, Kursk and Bryansk. Just this morning we've heard about numerous attacks being carried out by the Ukrainian military against Belgorod region, but also about 1 person being killed in the Kursk region as a result, again, of the Ukrainian attacks. So Moscow calls those attacks as terrorist acts, saying that Moscow will be doing everything possible to protect the civilians on the Russian side of the border, hence the Russian actions in the Kharkiv region. Interestingly, with the Russian president saying that at the moment there are no plans of capturing the city of Kharkiv.
Now, Putin made that comment about a buffer zone during his just concluded visit to China. In terms of one, optics, and two, outcomes, how did that visit go?
Well, certainly an important visit for a number of reasons, primarily because it was the first overseas trip for the Russian president, but also because Xi Jinping, the president of China, also chose Russia as the first destination for his overseas travels in his new term last year. Second, obviously, the issue of trade is very important. There were some problems with the clearance of the Russian payments at the Russian banks over the past month, with the Chinese exports to Russia dropping for 2 consecutive months by more than 10%. That was in March and in April. And we have heard the Kremlin saying that this is one of the issues that they are working on, that has to be resolved in dialogue. So some progress might have been achieved during the negotiations in Beijing and in Harbin. And obviously the very fact that the Russian president traveled to the Harbin Institute of Technology is also very important. Both China and Russia have said that they will be counteracting to the dual containment policy of the US, as they describe it. And the institute has been sanctioned by the United States. So it is a very significant symbol of defiance of the Western hegemony, as Moscow and Beijing describe it, and the establishment and the promotion of the establishment of the multipolar world order.
Dasha, thank you. That was Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow. In some other news, mob violence has targeted international students in Kyrgyzstan's capital city of Bishkek. In an advisory posted on social media, the Embassy of India in Kyrgyzstan said, and I quote, "We are in touch with our students. The situation is presently calm, but students are advised to stay indoors for the moment and get in touch with the embassy in case of any issue," unquote. India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar said that welfare of Indian students in Bishkek was being monitored. The situation is calm now. He advised the students to stay in touch with the Indian embassy there. The first shipment of aid reached the shores of Gaza via a pier built with U.S. assistance. The White House said the additional aid from the U.S. was arriving in Cyprus to be loaded onto ships for delivery into Gaza via the new pier. In a post on social media, U.S. President Joe Biden said the need to get more aid to the most vulnerable is urgent. A White House official said the U.S. has a robust security plan to protect personnel involved in operating the pier. A small number of U.S. troops are involved in helping to facilitate the aid from ships to the pier and for security purposes. Meanwhile, Israel's army released a footage on Saturday showing the arrival of the aid. This delivery takes place as Israel comes under growing global pressure to allow more supplies into Gaza. The temporary floating pier was pre-assembled at the Israeli port of Ashdod and moved into place on Thursday off the coast of Gaza, which lacks a port infrastructure of its own. The pier operation is estimated to cost $320 million and involve 1,000 U.S. troops. Israel has retrieved the bodies of 3 hostages from the Gaza Strip. They were identified as Shani Luke, Amit Burskila and Yitzhak Galanta. They were murdered by Hamas while escaping the Nova Music Festival on the 7th of October last year. Their bodies had been taken to Gaza. Israel's government had confirmed the death of German-Israeli Shani Luke, a 23-year-old tattoo artist, in late October. A video that circulated on social media at the time showed her half-naked body slung across the back of a pickup and paraded through Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the military operation on Friday. He reiterated his pledge to ensure the return of all hostages, dead or alive.
It is with a heavy heart that I share the news that last night the Israel Defense Forces and ISA forces rescued the bodies of our hostages, Shani Luke, Amit Buskila, and Yitzhak Galanta, who were taken hostage during the Hamas massacre on October 7th and they were murdered by Hamas. Their bodies were transferred to medical professionals for forensic examination and identification. After the procedure was completed, we notified their families. Our hearts go out to them, to the families, at this difficult time. We will leave no stone unturned. We will do everything in our power to find our hostages and bring them home.
Israel's military battled Hamas in the narrow alleyways of Jabalia in northern Gaza on Friday, even as Hamas attacked Israeli tanks massing around Rafah in the southern part of the conclave. Jabalia is the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps. The Israel Defense Forces said its troops killed more than 60 militants in Jabalia in recent days and located a weapons warehouse. Such an operation would typically involve several brigades of thousands of troops each, making it one of the biggest of the war so far. Israel said it must capture Rafah to destroy Hamas and ensure its safety. An Israeli airstrike on the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank killed a Hamas terrorist. 8 others were wounded in the operation. Israel's military said a fighter jet and a helicopter conducted the strike, which is a rarity in the West Bank. Israel said it struck a compound used as an operations center by terrorists and confirmed the killing of one Islam Khamese, who was responsible for several attacks on Israelis. And now to news from the Indo-Pacific. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has urged more Indian Americans to run for elected office, saying that they are currently underrepresented given their growing population in the U.S. Her comment comes as Indian Americans from across the country gather in Washington, D.C. to organize themselves ahead of the U.S. presidential election. Kate Fisher has more.
From grassroots activism to running for office, Indian Americans are a burgeoning force in US politics. And with less than 6 months to go until the presidential election here, politicians, activists, artists and community leaders have gathered in Washington to try to work out how to increase their impact. And there's no time to waste on that, according to US Vice President Kamala Harris, who says that at the moment, not enough Indian Americans are running for office. Well, some of those already elected to the US Congress have offered their inspiration.
When I was first elected in 2012, I was the only Indian American member of Congress. Now there's 5 of us, and you see all these candidates running around the country. So it's not just running for office. You see folks that are running campaigns, that are, in high positions in the administration or on Capitol Hill or in state houses. So I think it's an ascendancy. And from the Biden campaign, we know in critical states like Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, that are states that are in play, the Indian American population, if we get good turnout, can be the difference.
There are some critical states around the country, Arizona, where Indian Americans can make the difference in a House seat, but also in the presidential race. And so I think our goal is to make sure that we're engaging the population, that we're turning them out to vote, that we're getting them excited, that we're building up the momentum, and helping people to see that Indian Americans are becoming more and more prominent, and we want their voices and we want their engagement.
But the war in Gaza could turn out to be a stumbling block on the campaign trail.
The shift in U.S. policy is absolutely essential if we are going to win back voters across the country for whom it is very difficult for them to listen to our economic message. As I said to him, we can't get in the door to talk about your message, Mr. President, because we need to have a shift on Gaza. And if we have that, then we can earn back the votes.
This year's US presidential election is one of the closest in history, meaning that the millions of Indian American voters will be more vital than ever in deciding who will lead the country for the next 4 years. In Washington, Kate Fisher reporting for DD India.
The U.S. Justice Department and TikTok on Friday asked the U.S. court to set a fast-track schedule to consider the legal challenges to a new law requiring Chinese-based ByteDance to divest TikTok's U.S. assets by 19th January or face a ban. TikTok, ByteDance and a group of TikTok content creators joined with the Justice Department in asking the U.S. Court of Appeals, the District of Columbia, to rule by 6 December in order to be able to seek review from the Supreme Court if needed. Last week, TikTok and parent company ByteDance filed a similar lawsuit, arguing that the law violates the U.S. Constitution on a number of grounds, including running afoul of First Amendment's free speech protections. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Most anticipated clash between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk billed as a ring of fire set to take place in Saudi Arabia. And Uganda's team for the T20 World Cup has a strong Indian influence. Find out more after this short break.
The future may seem scary, but it is solutions like these that make it less bleak.
The interest in insect farming in India came only in the context of environmental management to convert these municipal and then organic waste.
There are around 10,000 crickets in this container. It contains over 60% protein.
At first, I took the initiative to stop the sewage runoff in my own home, using what I knew and on my own volition.
It's a research topic for the future, but it would be really good to be able to treat the water and be able to reuse it, and at the same time produce plants for human consumption and other uses.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Time to get you all the glitz and glamour from the Cannes Film Festival. What does it take to restore an old film and screen it afresh? The Bharat Pavilion of India saw an interesting discussion on the restoration of the Shyam Benegal directed Manthan.
Hours before the screening, Manthan had its red carpet moment at the Palais des Festivals. The screening in Cannes was made possible because reels of the 1976 film were preserved in film vaults for decades and restored. At the Bharat Pavilion, Shivendra Singh Dungarpur, founder director of the Film Heritage Foundation of India, gave a glimpse into the tedious restoration process.
We didn't have the sound, and we had to take it from different prints. We had to get the DG betas. There was a lot of work. In fact, the film was not syncing because the prints were already cut by the projection. You know, when they go for projection, so it was a huge challenge to bring it back.
The film will now be released in theatres in 70 Indian cities on World Milk Day on 1st June. But this is not a solo project of the Government of India.
I'm very happy that we could play an instrumental role in getting this film restored, and not just this film. I mean, we have a project. We call it the National Film Heritage Mission Project, and under that project, we have allocated more than 1,000 crores, and 4,000 films, 4,000 plus films, are being restored at the National Film Archives of India.
Manthan was inspired by the pioneering milk cooperative movement of Dr. Verghese Kurian, the father of the White Revolution in India.
My father thought of doing this simply because he had just started Operation Flood, which was responsible for the revolution in milk in India. And he felt that the story was a story worthwhile to be told. It was also a film that was taken to all the villages by the Spearhead team and shown to the villagers to start cooperatives in the villages that were covered under Operation Flood.
Manthan is credited for for unleashing a socio-economic transformation in India and for being instrumental in empowering farmers and thus helping India become self-sufficient in milk production.
Doing this great job of restoring a film, which is not just a film, it's actually a socio-economic impact on the Indian society and dairy industry and empowerment of women that we are talking about, but which happened almost 50 years back.
Manthan's story revolves around the struggles and triumphs of a small group of farmers that come together to form a dairy cooperative to improve their economic conditions. It depicts the story of the inception of an extraordinary dairy cooperative movement that transformed India from a milk-deficient country to the world's largest producer of milk. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Munmun Bhattacharya from Cannes for DD India.
And Hollywood veteran Nicolas Cage appeared on the Cannes Film Festival's red carpet on Saturday for the premiere of his new movie, The Surfer. The Australia-set film is part of the festival's midnight screenings section and Irish director Lorcan Finnegan's first feature film to be presented at the cinema showcase. Cage waved at fans and posed for photographers as he made his way up the iconic steps to attend the film's world premiere. He has previously attended Cannes for David Lynch's 1990 film Wild at Heart, which won the Palme d'Or that year. A chariot festival has reached the Sitha Amman temple in Sri Lanka, Sitha Elia, which is ready for Sunday's Kumbhabhishekam ceremony. The chariot has brought 25 litres of water from the Saryu River in the temple town of Ayodhya in India. Devotees from India and Nepal have reached Sitha Elia. The temple had contributed a sacred stone in the construction of the Ram temple at Ayodhya. And now to all the news from the world of sport. In the Indian Premier League, Faf du Plessis' Royal Challengers Bengaluru will take on Ruturaj Gaikwad's Chennai Super Kings at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru on Saturday. With 3 playoff places already decided in this season, the race for the final spot has heated up in the competition. Defending champion CSK has 14 points with a better net run rate. For its part, Bengaluru has 12 points and a net run rate of .387. But what has heightened the drama surrounding the game is a forecast of rain. A washout will take CSK through to the playoffs, while RCB will need to win by at least 18 runs or chase the target with 11 balls to spare. Uganda's Cricket Association has named its T20 World Cup squad, and guess what? It has a strong Indian influence. It has an Indian coach and several players of Indian origin. Uganda will play its maiden World Cup competition in the West Indies and the United States, which starts in June this year. Michael Beleke reports from Kampala.
15 players and 2 travelling reserves will represent Uganda at the T20 World Cup tournament. Brian Masaba will captain the squad in its first World Cup appearance, with Raizat Ali Shah acting as his deputy. Indian-born all-rounder Alpesh Ramjani says he and his teammates are ready for the competition.
Definitely our team is a good solid team, so there is something potential and something to look out in our team. And you know, when a team that eats together, that trains together and fights together always comes out victorious. So yes, the eyes are on us and we'll make sure that, you know, we play to the best potential.
All-rounder Dinesh Nakrani is part of the team too and was born in India's Gujarati state. He says participating in the World Cup tournament is a dream come true.
If you play very well in the cricket, you can't imagine the cricket opportunities gives you about around you and any country for you. That's why I just simple question, focus on your game and do better in your areas, and then you can get opportunity in that all around the world, because now the cricket is fair too much in too much country.
Uganda will be making its debut at the T20 World Cup. The East African side has been placed in Group C for the World Cup alongside Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand and hosts the West Indies. Uganda's national team, the Cricket Cranes, has returned from a 2-week training in Sri Lanka. It was part of the preparations ahead of the T20 World Cup. The players say it was a valuable experience ahead of the big stage and bigger games.
Approach is matters when you are in the ground. At the pitch, you have to think, you have to handle pressure. How you can handle more positively, you get more positive results.
Yeah, any team that we're facing should just know that we're coming hard at them. So they shouldn't put it in their mind that they're playing an underrated team. Yeah, we're coming hard.
Uganda will play its first game on 4th June against Afghanistan. They will do so with their new Indian coach, Abe Sharma, at the helm. They'll close their group matches with a contest against New Zealand on 15th June. In Kampala, Michael Baleke reporting for DD India.
The Indian men's doubles pair of Satwik-Chirag Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty have entered Thailand Open final. The Indian duo beat Chinese Taipei's Lu Ming-che and Tang Kai-wei 21-11, 21-12 in the semi-finals. They sailed into the semi-finals with a straight games win over Malaysia's Junaidi Arif and Roy King Yap. The Indian duo will face China's Chen Bo Yang and Liu Yi in the summit clash. The long-anticipated world heavyweight title unifying fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk is to take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Saturday night local time. Fury, the 35-year-old British WBC champion, and his 37-year-old Ukrainian counterpart Usyk, who holds the WBA, WBO, IBF and IBO belts, will lock horns over 12 rounds in the Ring of Fire boxing event in Riyadh. The winner from the clash will become the undisputed heavyweight champion. Both men boast of undefeated records over successful careers. Only one, though, will walk away from their bout with all the belts boxing has to offer at the top for the first time since the turn of the century. The fight will be shown in over 200 countries around the world. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Up. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.